Yeah. Well, Prof,
that's what we talked about.
You also remember that some people are of the opinion that in as much as technology brings about speed in anything that we do, possibly, you cannot also forget the backside of it. That elections results, I mean, it's electronic. They could be tampered with. They could be hacked into a system. And that's the reason why some people are saying, okay, let's take the back seat. Let's be careful. We will approach it, but in phases. Would you subscribe to an approach that just takes the whole hog into consideration, or would you support that bit by bit growing into it? Yes, as well.
Interesting what you have said, but you see, the world will not wait for us. Okay, we are part of the human race, and we are part of the 21st century narrative. I don't see why we cannot embrace technology. We've embraced technology in terms of our cell phones, in terms of our ATM cards. I say we should step up our game. Enlightenment, you have to enlighten the electorate about what needs to be done when they're in the booth, okay? So that everybody's up to about what needs to be done. But if you keep postponing, the world will continue to laugh at you.
But have we
because
attained,
you have to apologize to all these observers or monitors. I gave you my experience. When I went to Madagascar, if I was compelled to stay another week because of the malfeasance of the election organizers, I would be so disgusted. So I even salute the observers that were invited, that they are still here. I understand we are even extending their visas at site, at INEC headquarters. The world is watching us. We are not a world to ourselves. And I think that should caution Nigerians. We should not be afraid of technology. Now it's like saying we don't need nuclear plants for our electricity, when that might be the way to go. Apart from solar energy, these fossil fuels are getting out of fashion, okay? And cars are now going electric. Are you saying mechanics should continue the piston engine and what have you, when you have Tesla, you have all sorts of... We don't even manufacture those cars.
But some people argue that it's a structure and that we've not reached that educational level to suggest that we go fully electronic for elections, election machination. Will that hold water for you?
No, I think it's an alibi for incompetence. When people are afraid of technology, we drive all these cars, state-of-the-art cars with technology, with all sorts of things.
Well, the education has to support that.
No, that is going on. I mean, that's why I say we have to educate the electorate, especially about elections. This is not rocket science. How to manipulate the machine at the voting booth instead of using ballot paper. So you won't be afraid of ballot box snatchers. You won't be afraid of people pouring corrosive material, acid, to destroy evidence. All sorts of things will take a backseat. So I think we must embrace technology and pay the cost, pay the price. Everything comes with a cost. If you want to live in the past, then, of course, you should not complain if things go all right. But when you have technology, you just be like in Europe. In a few hours after people have completed their voting, then you have ideas about the trend. We should even have something like exit polls that we don't have here. Because after
the laws restrict us. Well,
yeah, the law does not want us to do that. So quite sincerely, by the time you have exit polls, by the time you have electronic voting, and all sorts of things that make democracy work, then we won't be here bellyaching and making melancholy statements
and you
about
think that
situation.
You think that will cut down on the huge logistics that was the reason for this postponement in the first place?
Well, I listened to somebody, an expert on this program on logistics, I think Vice President of the Nigeria Institute of Logistics, and he suggested that if we embrace technology, many of the issues that come up will be in the past tense. So,
but someone else also argued that they still have to take the equipment to those areas anyway, and there are about almost 120 polling units.
Well, I know Nigeria is Africa's greatest democracy, or you might even say democratic experiment. But we have to pay the cost, like Jimba was saying, of underdevelopment, that we are still in the periphery of the world. We are not playing the big leagues. He was suggesting that we make haste slowly, and that, look, it might be, if you want to take a quantum jump,
it might crash.
Yes, that we might end up, you know, in smithereens, as people would say. But I don't think we should entertain fears about adopting technology in the electoral process.
It might then be that, who knows, maybe when the INEC chairman made that comment that we need to have a conversation about election management if we needed to move forward, maybe that might be interpreted as a subtle reminder that we needed to do something about the Electoral Act. But should we be encouraged, especially if you look at some of the narrative previously about the president putting his signature on assenting to that bill, when he says, well, who knows, should it be done used for this election so as not to cause confusion, or perhaps in the next election? So many think that maybe in the next elections we just might use it.
Well, I think the president was being careful. It's just like not too young to run beer. You remember when he signed it? He said, not for now, let's have this election. You come in 2023. So if you are being conservative in terms of the modalities of the election, people seem to be in a hurry, especially young people who are really technology savvy. They are wise as to what happens around them. I don't think we are so backward that we cannot embrace technology. This is the 21st century. We are using television. You are having people sending stories to channels. Channels is like our local CNN. And if we've attained this level of technological savvy, say in the media, I don't see why that should not percolate to the rest of society.
Well, yes, so we'll talk a lot more now about INEC's preparedness for these elections. Yes, they've had briefings this week largely, but now we also have some of them in the studio to shed some light on what to expect, some of the concerns you may have if you send your concerns in. But in Abuja this morning, we've got Oluwole Osaze-Uzi, who is the Director of Publicity and Voter Education. We also do have sitting right beside him Chidi Nwafo, who is the Director of ICT for INEC. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today on the verdict. Well, let me start with you, Mr. Osaze-Uzi. In terms of INEC's preparedness and the press briefings notwithstanding, have all the sensitive materials gotten to the designated points now? Can you say that for sure?
Yes, thank you. Your correspondent was there at the press briefing yesterday, and I think the chairman of the commission did state that the things were moving on. By the time the press briefing was over, all sensitive materials had gotten to the local government offices of the commission. So they're being sorted, they're being batched and sorted out at our local government offices of INEC. So yes, it did say so, and we have a platform where all the commissioners have confirmed not only have these materials left the central bank vaults, but also that they have actually reached their destinations at the local government offices. So the further sorting out has to be done before the time this afternoon they'll be moved to the racks, to the camps, the centers from where they'll be dispatched first thing in the morning tomorrow.
Well, clearly, one of the things that falls under your purview, Mr. Osaze-Uzi, is that of voter education, and which, of course, you did a yeoman's job before the postponement. How prepared do you think the people are? Because I would expect that that's also part of it. How prepared would you say the people are now in terms of their preparedness to go out tomorrow and vote?
Well, obviously, a lot of people were disappointed as to the rescheduling of the polls, but the feedback we have received, especially in the last 48 hours, have been very positive. And we're gratified that a lot of people still say, look, notwithstanding what happened, they're prepared to go out to cast their votes. They are prepared to make sure that they exercise their franchise. And we're quite pleased that a lot of initiatives have been undertaken by private sector operators, by different groups and people saying, for example, the discounted fares being offered by to commuters by transporters, both by land and by air. So I think this shows a will of the Nigerian people to ensure that their votes do count. We're gratified by that.
All right, we'll go to break now, but we'll come back and continue on this in just a moment. Stay with us.